Hey everybody, what's up? What's up? And welcome into the Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast for Monday, November 22nd, week 11, just about in the books. I am Michael Beller. If you're with us on YouTube, you probably notice a little bit of a different background for me. It's a holiday week, you guys. Thanksgiving just a couple of days away. I am at my mother-in-law's in Cleveland, Ohio, so a little bit of a different setting. You might hear a baby making some noise on this episode. Just excuse it. That's just Sophia May Beller trying to get her first podcast debut under her belt in the Thanksgiving week. It's really the best week to do it. Michael Beller here. Jake Seeley also here. Jake, what's going on? Let me be, I hope, the first person to wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you are, because I don't think anybody's thinking about it right now already. So
3 days away. Of course we're thinking about it.
No, but I mean, wishing people a happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, you're officially the first one, so there you go.
There you go. Well, I had to get it in, Jake. You're not going to be with us on the Wednesday episode of this show, so this is my only show with you between now and Thanksgiving. I had to get it in.
So happy Thanksgiving to you then, really. That's what really comes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
no,
much.
I'm saying you already got your gift. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to deal with me for a second with the second day.
Oh, I get it. Do you give Thanksgiving gifts?
No. It's a Black Friday gift.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. I like that. Brandon Funston also here. Funston, I'll wish you a happy Thanksgiving later in the week. So I'll just say, what's up, man? How did week 11 treat you?
I'm ready to put it behind me as quickly as absolutely possible. I think I'm probably in the 2% of people that had Jonathan Taylor and lost. My home team is the Seattle Seahawks. My college team is the Washington Huskies. Football's depressing right now for me. So that's all I can say about that.
Oh man, yeah, that has to be a very, very small needle that you threaded with a Jonathan Taylor loss this week. So
I had Ezekiel Elliott, I had CeeDee Lamb. I was thinking things were going to cruise to victory. I went from being like an 88% chance to win to flip-flopping that as soon as that game was over.
I in the flex leagues, Jake, I went up against Jonathan Taylor. I have Austin Eckler in that league, and I'm putting up a decent game, but I'm nowhere near winning.
No, I tweeted it out last night because I was curious if anybody faced like Hurts and Taylor and Eckler, and I got a lot of those. I actually had some people that tweeted and showed me that they came back with Eckler facing Jonathan Taylor and stuff like that. So there's some intriguing matches. This is what makes fantasy fun. But go play doubleheaders. This is why you play doubleheaders. I keep saying that. Play doubleheaders.
This is absolutely why you play doubleheaders. You really got to find that. Let's start with that game, you guys. Let's start with Colts and Bills. Colts 41-15, monumental victory. AFC, who the hell knows what's going on in that conference. Really quick, I guess, Jonathan Taylor, is this a completely non-controversial statement right here, Jake, the 1.01 in 2022?
No, I'm tired of getting asked it. It's like this is like the fifth time I've been asked this question in the past 3 weeks. No, I still say yes. Is he the 101? Sure. Is it unquestioned? No. I still think that when you see Christian McCaffrey's over-under being 150 yards a game, like I still
really
think he deserves to be in the
ridiculous
conversation. I said that to media. It's like if I told you, I said I know it's a big if, but if I told you Christian McCaffrey plays the entire 2022 season, would you take Christian McCaffrey number one? And that's still a hesitant question. Like that, you would still consider it, and I think that's just why. Like you still have to consider. Like yes, Taylor is one, but I don't think the door is closed on somebody else entering the conversation. How does Barkley finish just the year, and then a new coaching staff with no freaking Garrett ruining this offense next year? There's a lot. Yes, Taylor's the answer, but I don't think it's like slam the door shut. He's 101. Let's have the conversation. Who's 102?
Well, it's only him and McCaffrey. Right, I think the question is 101. It's
no,
101, then the other guy, and then 103.
I still think Barkley and Cook could enter the conversation, both depending. Cook's probably more out now that they're splitting more with Madison, but I still think you could put them all into the conversation. I mean, what happens? Like, there's just a lot to say that he's definitively one of. Like, what happens if Carson Wentz breaks his ankle again in Week 17? He's not even the quarterback next year. Like, there's just a lot of things that go on. Like, yes, he's the 101, but I still think there's four people in this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if we're drafting right now, probably 98% of leagues are going to take Jonathan Taylor.
Would take Taylor.
Yeah. But I mean, as Jake said, we're not drafting right now, and there's, as we know, so much can change in the landscape in just a matter of a month.
Well, speaking of so much changing, are we sure that there's nothing wrong with the Bills, Funston? We were all ready to just put this behind us, and then this game against the Colts, I mean, another ugly game for Josh Allen, another inefficient game, 209 yards, 6 yards per attempt, 2 picks. Like, are we comfortable saying that we can ignore this and move on with this team?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's indicative of what we're seeing league-wide and what we saw with Kansas City, what you see with Russell Wilson, these teams that – I think what we're going to see, because we've had such a big swing in the passing direction, is that now we're going to have to see a swing back into a running direction, because teams are just no longer letting teams just throw the ball over the field. They're making, and if you don't have balance, and I think it's why we're seeing Indy have success, because they can play off of that run. Why Tennessee was so good early on in the year with Derrick Henry, you can play off of that as well. But if teams don't have the ability to have a threat running the ball, defenses, I think, figure that out and just decide, you know what, you're gonna have to beat us by being balanced, being able to throw underneath. And it sometimes takes a while. Like Josh Allen and the Pat Mahomes of the world, big gunslingers, they're not really loving to do that, and begrudgingly Mahomes has started to do it, but I don't know that Josh Allen's got there yet.
Yeah, if I could get it out of my mouth. I was about to start 3 different thoughts at the one time, and then my brain just shut down. Like the guy at the control center just went, I don't know. So,
you're like Mr. Burns when he has all the diseases and they can't get through the door.
Yes,
they're on perfect balance with each other.
That's really what happened, because I was about to echo Funston's statement, and then I was about to say the fact is also, like when I talked with Meany, we were talking about the top teams, like if you had to pick Super Bowl contenders as of today, the Bills don't even come in the conversation with how they came to play. And then to go to the second part of it, I was going to say also it was kind of a nasty-ish weather game, so I'm not putting too much. So all those 3 combined, that's what I tried to get out of my mouth at once. And it really comes down to, there are legitimate concerns. And it comes down to, as you mentioned, they need balance. We're actually seeing now the opposite with what's going on with the Colts, is that it's working. But that's why, as a sidebar, I said, go field some offers for Jonathan Taylor. You could get, it's never going to be higher than what you get today. You could get a hole and a half for what they think Christian McCaffrey holes that you used to get in past years. And I say that to say this. Do I think Taylor's going to struggle down the stretch? Absolutely not. But what Funston just said, if you're looking at the Colts with the way that they've played the past couple games, you just go out there and say, we're just going to do everything we can to stop Taylor because Wentz is not beating anybody right now. And I think that's what's going on with the Bills.
Yeah, you might want to go after Michael Pittman right now. That way, because that's going to be what they're going to have to pivot to, maybe. But I think really quickly, I want to say Salfino said this in a scouting notebook: is the Bills are a dome team, playing in a cold weather environment. Yeah, exactly. They're kind of a contradiction.
Yeah, we're seeing that play out too, as well. You guys, Sunday Night Football was
and a dome this week.
Oh,
there you go.
The Bills are.
Yeah, they're the Thursday night.
Thursday night. Yeah,
Thanksgiving night game in New Orleans. So that's what you're telling me. Josh Allen #1, Stefon Diggs #1.
Rebound week for the Buffalo Bills. Rebound fourth quarter for the Pittsburgh Steelers in their 41-37 loss to the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Jake, are you buying what you saw from Roethlisberger in that third quarter, statistically wise? Because that fourth quarter was better than most of his games this season.
So this is why I say trust your gut, is because my gut, I kept wanting to put Ben Roethlisberger inside the top 15 this week because I had already trusted what I saw from Ben Roethlisberger, and I've been saying that for a couple of weeks, and this is why I keep buying low on Chase Claypool. Ben Roethlisberger's looked pretty good. Is he still broken? Yes, his body's not 100%. It's never going to be 100% again.
Years old, yeah.
But he looks good, and he has looked good, and he has looked good with dwindling options in that passing game. And, everything in the projections is like, all right, the highest I guess I can go is 2021. And my gut kept saying, I want to put him up like 15, 14. I would play him if it was my team. I think I would play. Put it this way. I went into this week and saying, like, I would have played, if my team, I would have played him over Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was ranked ahead of him. This is why sometimes, again, trust your gut if you disagree with me. They're not 100% right. And I'm not saying at the victory lap, I did not expect it to be that good. I still respect the Chargers pass defense, although I still expected Justin Herbert to have more of like a QB 7-8 kind of week because of the Pittsburgh's defense. Nobody's defense showed up in that game. This is like what happens. But a few weeks ago, we also had nobody's offense showed up in a game where Jacksonville beat Buffalo. What was it, 9-6? So it's kind of one of those weeks. I still think the passing game with Ben Roethlisberger is better than what people want to give it credit for. Am I ready to call him a QB1? Absolutely not.
Let's go to the next one right here because we got to get to Funston. It's our regular Funston Mike Williams question. Mike Williams, 53-yard touchdown to win the game for the LA Chargers. Up until that point, it was a whole lot of Keenan Allen, a whole heck of a lot of Austin Eckler. But Mike Williams saves the day for himself, for the Chargers. No idea what Jake's. Is that a roller coaster, Jake?
No, I was trying to rise from the grave. I couldn't lay completely down because the arm is here. I couldn't get all the way down.
Well, did he do it, Funston? Did Mike Williams rise from the grave with that 53-yard touchdown last night?
You know, my last time we talked about him, I said that he was like, mostly dead from Princess Bride, Billy Crystal saying, and I think we have resuscitated him a bit. But you look at you look at the season, and it's tough with Mike Williams. He's got, just counted up, 4 games, 80-plus yards and a touchdown, 5 games under 60 yards and no touchdown. So, you get into that Jared Cook world that Jake likes to talk about. It's like he's not dead. He's capable of having these big games, but is he kind of becoming a poor man's A.J. Brown, where you can see the upside, but sometimes you're left wanting. I'm still not sure every time I'm going to put Mike Williams in my lineup what I'm going to get. I don't know that this has changed things at all because he got a 53-yard touchdown.
But you are going to be putting him in your lineup, which is a big part of the equation here. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you do ranking exercises every week with the wide receivers? And when you start to get outside that top 30, like it's easy to rank Mike Williams in the top 30 every week still. I mean, it's just so much like up and down kind of garbage in that beyond 30 range. So, I'm absolutely putting him in my lineup.
All right, guys, let's get on to the next game that I want to talk about here. Carolina and Washington. Washington with an impressive 27-21 victory in this game. Really thought the Panthers were going to be able to take care of business. But Cam Newton mostly took care of business for his fantasy managers. 189 yards, 7 yards per attempt, 2 passing touchdowns, ran for a touchdown as well, and 46 yards. Jake, did he prove his QB1 bona fides for the rest of the season?
No. Just because Cam Newton still it's the rushing touchdown, and then on the passing side of it was still 1 and 200-ish yards. It really comes down to this is
2.
Cam Newton
scores.
I was gonna say, at the end of the game. The thing is, I was gonna say is the comparison I was gonna make is what we were making the comparison for Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill's Cam Newton. Well, Cam Newton's Taysom Hill. Cam Newton was Taysom Hill before Taysom Hill was a thing. Finkel's Einhorn. They're the same guys. If you have a down week where he doesn't get a rushing touchdown, you could potentially be looking at QB 20. That's really what it comes down to. Yes, 2 scores. It's also Washington. And you look, who's Carolina grab this week? Who do they get this week? At Miami. That's a bad. See, that's like you hope that DJ Moore can do his job over the middle and Cam Newton can. But if you're looking at a passing matchup type of situation, let's say Cam comes out of this game with only 40 rushing yards and not a touchdown. Is he really going to throw for 2+ and 250 against Miami? I would doubt it. So he's outside the QB1 conversation, but of all of them, similar to like if Taysom Hill was starting, if Justin Fields didn't get hurt, it's basically you finish 5th or you finish 20th, and you just kind of know what you're getting into with that kind of quarterback.
Funston, you got a different take, or you good to move on to our next thing?
We can move on. Yeah, I wasn't man enough to start Cam Newton ahead of Russell Wilson, like I told everybody else to do. I just couldn't do it, and I'm paying the price for it in that Jonathan Taylor league. So I'd rather not talk about it.
Well, you just did talk about it.
I enjoyed Cam Newton. He was my Lamar Jackson pivot. I had a lot of fun with Cam Newton.
Yeah, I had Cam going in a couple of Superflex leagues, both of which one's for sure a win. One is looking like a win as long as I get something basically out of Mike Evans tonight. How about Antonio Gibson, Funston? We got quite a bit out of him in Washington's win, and the workload was there. Remember last week you put him up as a Week 10 winner, and you said it was largely because of just the work that Washington was comfortable to give him. 19 more carries. Antonio Gibson back?
I think so. I mean, and we can't just. I mean, and the opponents that he had, Carolina's been a good defense. Tampa the week before, these are legit run defenses. He's getting volume. This one he actually got yardage production. Last week he had to, it was tough going, but he got the touchdowns and he just kind of did what he had to do. This week he's actually, put some actual yardage production behind it. So weirdly, I think you can say that he's a lot healthier. Maybe, I always mention Virginia Zackus and how long this injury is and stuff like that. And if you played when you're injured, it could actually set your timeline back, and you could injure it further. Like the way he's run the last 2 weeks, you kind of have to think that maybe this thing is better and it has healed, because it doesn't look like he's going backwards at this point.
43 carries right over the last 2 weeks. Washington clearly is comfortable with where his health is, and that came into his benefit. Jake, I'm not saying they should be, but we have to assume they are.
No, that's where it comes down to. Is I'm more scared about the fact that he keep mentioning Virginia, and I think she's right, and that's my concern. Is that Washington is out there just like, screw it, we're going to give him 1 million touches, and we're going to get to week 14, and he's going to be completely broken.
Yeah, that team doesn't necessarily have the greatest track record when it comes to making the appropriate health decisions for their players. Hopefully that is not something that is going on with Antonio Gibson. Let's rewind, you guys, to Thursday night when we saw the Patriots take care of business. Now the first place New England Patriots take care of business, beat the Falcons 25-0. And we have a new situation, I think, to talk about between Rhamondre Stevenson and Damien Harris, you guys, because Rhamondre Stevenson, they both look good. But if you had to say one looked better, Rhamondre looked better. So, Jake, take this one first. How are you treating these guys if you have either one of them on your fantasy teams?
Treating them as like, hey, we were avoiding it for a while, but it's back. We're back to being annoyed. But annoyed, and it's not as bad as it used to be annoyed. At least this is now the Broncos. They're both usable. They're both fine. Damien Harris would rank ahead of Stevenson for me going forward and continue to do so. I think Stevenson's shown a lot more, especially in the passing game, than any of us, including myself, expected. But that's not a bad thing, because they're both used in the passing game. They're both used in the run game. There'll be weeks where Stevenson finishes in front of Harris, just like there's weeks where Javonte Williams finishes in front of Melvin Gordon. Guess what? They're both low-end RB2s, and you have a potential RB1 upside of both of them going forward. So all four of them. Yeah, though I'll probably, you know what, the Funston says ranking of it, I think you'd probably find all four of them inside the 20 to 28 range going forward.
Right.
He definitely would. And Beller, I just want to say, I don't think Damien Harris looked a whole lot worse than Stevenson. I think they both looked about equal. I thought Harris.
That's what I said. If you had to pick one look better, if you had to pick, I think you would pick Stevenson. But it wasn't like, my God, look at Stevenson. He's so much better than Harris.
Yeah, but Jake's right. This is Denver. This is Denver East. So yeah, they'll be in my 20 to 28 range, I'm sure, in my rankings this week.
I feel like that window could be even tighter. That it's going to be like those four guys across 5 spots for the rest of the season. And with just the way that those backfields are going, and they all get plenty of usage too. That's true of them also. So it's like, yeah, exactly. Denver East in New England with the backfield. Kyle Pitts, guys. We're in the pits here with what he's been doing over the last few weeks. Now you go over his last 4 games: 12 catches, 25 targets, 164 yards. You're playing Kyle Pitts if you have him. Most people's trade deadlines have passed. I guess you could try to trade him if your deadline is still open. But with everything that's going on with Atlanta's offense, Funston, how much better than this can we expect week in and week out of Pitts?
I think you get Cordero back. You get a better matchup than New England. Kyle Pitts is going to be okay. He's going to be, he was putting up 60 yards and we were getting kind of frustrated with that. But I think we could see him return to that. We're not going to get like this generational rookie tight end season that everybody kind of was sort of predicting, and we were seeing it kind of emerge, and then Calvin Ridley goes out, and then we get Cordero out. I think they have to have Cordero back, and they have to have a little better matchup, and I think you're going to, be looking at a guy that you can feel comfortable playing in your top 8 tight ends, but just not going to be the upside we imagined.
Really was hoping we would get that breakout when it was building. It felt like it was building, and it just doesn't feel like that Atlanta offense has the fertile ground to supply Pitts with the ability to get to that level this season. The 49ers, you guys, are getting to that level that we thought that they could maybe reach in the preseason, and we're really seeing the fully healthy 49ers for the first time. They waxed the Jaguars 30-10, and I don't really have a question here, but this fully healthy 49ers team, Jake, it's fun. Brandon Ayuk taking off, Deebo Samuel running the ball a ton, best running back on that team right now. George Kittle hitting the ground running right when he comes back from injury, 3 straight games at the touchdown. They're just a fun offense right now.
They are fun, and if we had that bet with the Ayuk Debo situation we had at the beginning of the season going forward, right now it might be a little bit different. I wouldn't make that bet with you going forward. Like I would have done it like this. So they're going to take that one, but I wouldn't take it going forward. And also, hot take here, alert, like whatever it might be, is I think the Debo use and what Jeff Wilson did yesterday makes me more confident that Mitchell is still the guy. I think that Shanahan, I went on and on and on about the fact that Shanahan tricks us, but Shanahan tricks us when he has multiple options, is what he's told us so far is Mitchell is the guy. He tried to get Mitchell still back out there. Wilson was underwhelming. He got a vast amount of touches, enormous amount of touches, but was underwhelming with them. And then, as mentioned, Deebo Samuel came in, which I think just would be where Wilson falls to. He would get the run that Deebo got, and that Mitchell's coming back. So if anybody's panicking about Mitchell, and you can call me crazy for getting Shanahan again, but I'm going to, as you mentioned, if the deadline hasn't passed, I'm going to go get Mitchell from people if I can.
I don't think that's crazy.
I don't think it's crazy.
That's crazy? Yeah.
No, I think it's.
We're all geniuses. I'm just saying, you have to see the Twitter world because people are only looking at Mitchell missed the game. Jeff Wilson got to over 20 touches, and people are now panicking because we've been burned by Shanahan before.
Yeah. I think that. Yeah, I think you're right, Jake.
See, I heard the baby cry. She's been burned.
Yeah.
She's been burned by Shanahan in the past.
Yeah, no, she agrees with you too. I think that's really what this is, and I just want to see. I want to see this team be as healthy as they've been over the last few weeks because it really is just a fun offense, and it's something that feels like it's been in sort of short supply over these last few weeks. We need these fun fantasy offenses going. That's why we love what the Vikings and Packers did in Week 11. This holiday season, the best deal in wireless can be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint and buy any 3-month plan, you're going to get another 3 months for free. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton, with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes significant savings on to you. All their plans come with unlimited talk and text, high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can choose the amount of monthly data that is right for you. Stop paying for data that you're not going to use. You get your own phone number, your phone, all your contacts, everything just moves right over. All that changes is the plan. And for a limited time, buy any 3-month plan with Mint Mobile. Get another 3 months tacked on for free. Just go to mintmobile.com/fantasy. Again, that's mintmobile.com/fantasy. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month and get 3 months for free. mintmobile.com/fantasy. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Check out betterhelp.com/AFF. The best way to think about therapy is through a bunch of analogies. We get our cars tuned up to prevent bigger issues down the road. We get annual checkups and go to the gym to maintain physical wellness, prevent injury and disease. Going to therapy, it's just like these. It is routine maintenance for your mental and emotional wellness to prevent bigger issues cropping up down the road. Going to therapy doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It means you're investing in yourself and investing in your mind to keep that healthy. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy. You can start communicating with your therapist in less than 48 hours. Why would you invest in everything else but not your mind? This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and the Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/AFF. That's BETTERHELP.com/AFF. Packers and Vikings delivered 34-31 Vikings victory. You guys, probably the most fun game, I think, most start to finish fun game of Week 11. Jake, Justin Jefferson, how many wide receivers can you rank ahead of him in 2022? It's no more than two.
I was just about to say, don't ask me anything about the Vikings. There's nothing to talk about with the Vikings every single week.
I know.
This will be the only one.
But
he's top 3. I said the same, and I had this same answer when somebody said Jamar Chase going forward. Also for Dynasty as well. The only reason you might lean Chase in Dynasty over Justin Jefferson is because who knows Kirk Cousins. At least you know that Burrow and Chase are going to be together for 5, 6, 7, 8 years likely, unless Cincinnati's stupid. But that 2022... Jefferson, and it's Jefferson. Adams could still be in the conversation if he leaves with Rodgers, but there's a lot of ifs there. No matter what it is, Justin Jefferson's top 3.
Yep.
So is Kupp and Tyreek and Jefferson?
I would say no.
Or
Tyreek
Adams.
wouldn't even be in the conversation. I was going to say
Adams.
Kupp, Adams, and Jefferson, and Kupp would be number 1 still for me.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think it's fair to say. I haven't automatically just jettisoned Tyreek from that top three, but yeah.
See, he was never there for me because the down games, 3-4 points.
Who was never there for you? I was
Tyreek.
The baby.
Tyreek is the next tier down. It's similar to running back. For me, Tyreek's the next group. Like he's the Alvin Kamara next group, Derrick Henry next group. So Tyreek is there with a healthy A.J. Brown, if that's a thing. I jokingly said this on Twitter yesterday. It's like we drew all the Julio Jones comparisons when he left college. And I was really hoping it wasn't going to include the injuries.
Yeah, it's just I love this team. I love this Vikings team because they're one of the few bankable teams in the sport that we have right now, and just what they do fantasy wise, right? It's like we know exactly what we're getting out of these guys, superstars, and we can trust them, and it's so much fun. What about Marquez Valdes-Scantling, you guys? Because he had the big game, and we've seen big games from Marquez Valdes-Scantling. We've seen big games from Allen Lazard. Usually, it's not predictive of what's going to come in the future, but 10 targets for MVS in this big game of his. Does that make him more, less, or no change interesting for you, Funston?
He's interesting because of the targets, because of the air yards, because he's a big play, guy off of the Devontae Adams attention. But it's not always that Allen Lazard is injured and that Aaron Jones is injured and that there's no Robert Tonyan. And so this, I think, was a perfect storm.
It is always no Robert Tonyan this season.
Well, it is now, but I'm just saying it hadn't been. And, Aaron Jones as one of the better receiving backs as an option wasn't there either. So I just think this was sort of a perfect storm for something like this to happen for MVS. I don't think we're going to suddenly see a level of consistency that's going to be a major step above what we've seen from MVS before, although it could be in the short term just because of these injuries.
I'm giving him a thumbs up, too. I just want to know now. We got the Marquez. I just want to know if it's Valdez or Valdez, because now we're getting Valdez, too. So now we're getting Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And they're like, how do you pronounce your damn name, dude?
It should be MVS. It should just be MVS. We can
just
all
save it
that.
like that.
Yeah, and MVS is just fun. It's fun to say, too. It's fun to say, and we'll get Matt Schneider on the case.
I love how Phil missed the beginning of the show, but he immediately picked up because of what you're dealing with on the video that you're with the in-laws.
Yeah, you're right, Phil. This is definitely right on the money there. In-laws place, gotta love that. Feeling good about it too. Yeah, it's Thanksgiving. It's a holiday week. We're all making it work for sure. Eagles making it work in a big way. You guys, a 40-29 win over the Saints. Have you guys checked out the Eagles' upcoming schedule?
Yeah,
the entire NFC East. They just get to coast against each other.
At Giants, at Jets, Washington, by Washington Giants. The second one's at Washington.
The Eagles do have the best one of all of them. The Cowboys are pretty simple too. The Washington's not that bad. Like the entire division plays each other. Well, here's my answer. Possibly, but I don't care.
That's my question. Like, if they are a playoff bound team, is that gonna trickle down to the fantasy world in any noticeable way?
Oh, this is, as Funston knows, he's been editing for as long as you can think. I've been kept saying is go buy low. For one, everybody, Hurts is going to get benched. Yeah, okay. All buy low on Hurts and Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert and the backfield. And not that I'm super excited for the backfield, but that schedule has been something I've been hammering home for weeks. But for playoff real life purposes, there's another reason why Hurts won't get benched. But on top of it, for real life, for real NFL, I don't care. There's a big five in the NFC. Everybody else, I could not care less who ends up as the 6th and 7th seed. It doesn't matter.
Really quick, are the Vikings closer to that big five, or are they closer to Eagles and everyone else?
No, they're everyone else. Everybody. The big five are Arizona, Packers, Rams, Bucks, and Cowboys. And Cowboys might fall out if they have another performance like they did yesterday. I mean, honestly,
that game's next. That game's next. So hold that thought because this is a quick turnaround. This is a quick turnaround on Thanksgiving. Quick turnaround for this team. Funston, Miles Sanders, is he back in RB2 land?
Yeah, I think so. If Jordan Howard is, I don't know how injured he is at the moment, but this is a team that just decided we are going to just completely sell out to the run now. You know, early on their thoughts were they were going to let Hurts throw the ball, and then they just said, you know what, we're just having a sea change on offense. So given how they are just basically going Cleveland style with their rushing attempts, I think you have to think of Miles Sanders as a back end RB2.
It's funny. We looked at last week with Devonta Smith when he scored the 2 touchdowns, and we're like, yeah, the 2 touchdowns are awesome, but he had 4 catches, 6 targets, 60 whatever yards, and 2 touchdowns. And like it's really more the 4, 60, and 6 that is going to be predictive of what's coming next. And what does he do this week? 4 catches, 6 targets, 61 yards, 0 touchdowns. And so it really is it's the running backs and Jalen Hurts who you really feel are locked in as to what they are in the fantasy world. Obviously, Devonta Smith has a higher ceiling in a given week than Miles Sanders, but it just feels like that's going to be something that's dodgy the rest of the season, which also maybe describes this Dallas Cowboys offense. Amari Cooper, maybe CeeDee Lamb out on Thursday. Is there an argument, Jake, to bench Dak on Thanksgiving?
Look, there's always an argument depending on what your options are. Hell, if you went out there and grabbed Cam Newton as a bench stash, Vegas pass rush has been pretty good. They're also the other side of it is that there are concerns on the offensive line with Dallas. Yeah, I'm looking down the schedule. Burrow at home against Pittsburgh. I don't know if I would go that far, but I could. That's like we're already having that conversation. Wentz at home against Tampa Bay. I don't think I'd go that far because Wentz has been miserable of late. 2 against Carolina, maybe. Cam Newton, yes. That's so. Going down this schedule here, you can make the argument more so than you ever were before because Dak Prescott essentially before this is his top 5-6 quarterback. But yes, they are all reports, unless a shock of shocks because of his concussion, is CeeDee Lamb is out. So he's down to Gallup and Cedric Wilson.
Yeah, Cooper's out too.
So I was going to say Cooper's out too. So you're looking at possibly, like you just Funston mentioned, this could be a go with the Browns game plan and just pound it with Zeke and Pollard. And maybe that's how they keep this competitive because that's the one thing. You can run. This is why I was so high on Joe Mixon in DFS this week. Just run on the Raiders. Devontae Booker went bananas against them. Run on the Raiders. I will say this. You tell me we're having this conversation next Monday. On my birthday, by the way.
Oh, happy early Thanksgiving. Happy early.
No,
birthday.
you don't get the happy early birthday, me. The best part about my birthday is the Spider-Man tickets go on sale. I'm so pumped. I'm waking up on my birthday, and I don't even care about my birthday. I'm just gonna buy Spider-Man tickets.
That is the best thing. I'm counting down. I've got one of those like paperclip chains counting down the days.
Oh, that was you should get one of those. One of those calendars the Advent calendars. You could get an Advent calendar for Spider-Man. I say this. I have the feeling like this could be one of those games where it's like the Falcons of old with Freeman and Coleman that we all of a sudden like see Zeke finishes RB5 and Tony Pollard finishes RB12 next week.
That's funny. That's exactly what I was going to say. Is like it feels like a week if we have both Zeke and Pollard, you start them both.
Yeah.
They're
the Cowboys are still 7-point favorites in that game, which is actually the biggest spread. Cowboys -7 against the Raiders, Patriots -5.5 against the Titans, and then everything else is 4 or lower on BetMGM.
I'm taking the easy cover for the Raiders in that one. You saw the tweet yesterday? We mentioned the Lions cover.
Yeah, yes, we did. Right, the best 0-9-1 team. Whoever responded to you, one of our followers out there.
I don't know if they were agreeing or they were trying to take a shot at the fact that, like, hey, look, 7-3 against the spread.
Yeah,
I would take that.
And let me tell you something. As you guys know, and I've definitely mentioned, and so if you haven't heard it, I'm at my in-laws, which is in Cleveland, and so I watched all of that game, start to finish, Browns Lions.
I'm sorry.
And
yeah,
that was terrible. That was a horrible, horrible watch. Funston, let's give you another RB2 question. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I was surprised to see him. I mean, back, sure, but basically in total command of the backfield.
This question.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels wrong for me to handle this question because I know
both you guys get in on
Jake
it. Both
has
you guys
to say.
Fine. Screw you.
No,
Funston.
because
no. Get out of here, Funston.
Funston, go first. Okay, well, then fine. Here's what I'm going to say. This is another example. I was the same thing. I said it about Dave Montgomery. I said it about who was the other one that just. And now I'm having a brain fart. Whoever it was, is this the same thing? The only thing that pushed me from not putting Clyde Edwards-Helaire inside the top 20 was his 4 p.m. game, and we had to wait to see that he was definitely playing. There was still word out there that we're gonna have to wait to see what he looks like in pregame, and they're going to evaluate him in pregame. What I'm going to say is learn this lesson again. They have a bye this week. They brought a player back who was behind somebody who was playing well. Darrell Williams was great in the replacement of Edwards-Helaire, and they still chose to bring Edwards-Helaire back. That's all you need to know. Just like David Montgomery and the other person I'm having a brain fart with that I can't think of, that the same thing happened.
Yeah, who was
this? Is how you. I know. This is how you read the tea leaves of the NFL. I'm trying to look down the teams. I'm trying to remember who the hell it was. Somebody should help me out here because I'm struggling with it.
This is absolutely killing me.
You guys are no help. Oh, it's Christian McCaffrey. It's Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, yeah, sure.
They brought him back when they needed him. Yeah, they brought him back. No, it was because they brought him back when they didn't need to. In that game, in that morning, was the fact that Royce Freeman was made inactive that day too.
Uh-huh. I feel like we were talking about someone else in this context, even though that is what you're describing here, did happen with McCaffrey. But I feel like there was another player we were talking about in this context. But no matter who it was, this is still very true about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Chiefs on a bye next week. He should be right back in control of this backfield in Week 13. This actually worked out beautifully, Funston, because now you get to cry about the
Seahawks.
Because now that's the game we're on here. Cardinals win 23-13. Cardinals taking care of business. 2-1 without Kyler Murray. They go into their bye. Should get Murray back after that. Funston, do we have to recalibrate just our overall expectations for what Seattle is, what Russell Wilson is for the rest of this season?
Yeah.
2022.
I think the Seattle football team, as we know it, is about to get blown up in the offseason. And I look at you can't play Russell Wilson right now. You can play him in a 2 QB league as your second QB if he's, but you got to think about him like a 20 to 24 and that kind of range quarterback. And I don't even know if that might even be too strong right now. It's really hard for them to complete passes. Russell's hanging on the ball. His accuracy's off. They don't have enough diversity in their offense. They can't run the ball right now. They're not trying to establish the run, so there's nothing to play off with the play action. Teams, it's just frustrating, and you just can't play Russell right now, especially in one QB leagues. There's probably 20 quarterbacks in the league you should play over Russell right now.
Is Trevor Siemian one of them?
Maybe matchup dependent, maybe, but I still say we need to see Taysom Hill because Trevor Siemian sucks. He just sucks.
Jake, did you have something you wanted on to get in on this?
No, he mentioned the next thing he was going to say. So there you go. You covered it. By the way, Gontom, or however you say, David Montgomery was the one that I said first. It was David Montgomery, now Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then it was Christian McCaffrey. I think was it Elijah Mitchell too, in the fact that
I was going to say Elijah
came back to the leg.
Yeah, I think that's who it was.
But all that being said, we've now seen it 4 or 5 times this year. Is when the person in front's been performing well, and they go right back to the other guy. Yeah.
Very well timed bye for the Cardinals. They go 2-1 with Colt McCoy. They should get Kyler back
and no
after
Hopkins.
The bye. Should get right. No Hopkins should get Hopkins back after the bye. They go into the bye as the number 1 seed in the NFC. I mean, you couldn't have drawn it up much better for Cliff Kingsbury and company, knowing they were going to have to play this many games without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. Let's look at the other side, because the 1 seed in the other conference is still the 1 seed, but probably not feeling too great today after losing to the Houston Texans. The Tennessee Titans go down 22-13. Look at that. Look at those little chomp noises out of Barkley. That's freaking
I was going to say, can you hear that?
Yeah, oh, yeah. That's great. We got all sorts of cuteness happening on this episode of the Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast. Titans are in trouble without Derrick Henry, you guys. I mean, this offense, they've won 2 games, but this offense has been legitimately bad for all 3 of these games. I mean, actually bad. Going into this game, it was just a 2-game sample, right? But they were 4.02 yards per play. That is 0.7 yards per play behind the 32nd ranked for the full season Chicago Bears, and they were at 229 total yards per game. That was 50 yards behind the Texans, who are last in the NFL for the full season. I mean, this has been a bad offense without Derrick Henry. And Funston, you can take this first. I'm not sure there's any reason to think it's going to get much better until Henry is back, which is going to be the NFL playoffs.
It's the Atlanta Falcons of the AFC. I mean, A.J. Brown is the only person that you would care about as a defensive, coming into that game, just looking at that team. I mean, look at their replacement level everywhere else. Jeff Swaim now at tight end. Marcus Johnson goes out with the hamstring injury or whatever. What do they got now? I mean, they got three running backs off basically the street that they're playing. So it's really, and that's why I'm just like, these A.J. Brown games aren't going away, because, again, any defensive mind that comes into this is not that hard to figure out how you're scheming against Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, Atlanta Falcons of the East.
Jake, take this for a second while I plug my computer in.
Are we continuing with the Titans?
Then I'll continue with the Titans.
I was gonna continue with the backfield. So there you go. That's what we're moving on to, is the fact that Deonta Foreman was a hell of a giant bust for everybody. And, the fact that going forward, it looks like it's going to be Adrian Peterson, but another backfield similar to the Bills, similar to the Texans, that I don't even want anything to do with. But another example, Funston, of the fact that This is why I go running back heavy. Yes, we get injuries at all the positions, but we're chasing, like, how many weeks in a row now have we been chasing these random running backs? And 50% of them at least have been a wild miss. So, like, we just did it with Atlanta. We were talking about Atlanta. You brought it out of the conversation. We just said, like, all right, well, Mike Davis is finally going to be a thing. Or maybe Wayne Gallman's going to take over. Nope, not even Wayne Gallman. It's Condre Olsen. And this is why I don't want to play this game at this point of the season. I don't want to be chasing the wrong running back.
Well, and this is what people like to champion the zero RB thing. I think this has been just such the worst year for zero RB. You had to hit on Elijah Mitchell
always the worst year.
and Cordero Patterson. And in the top 10 at each position, it's a lot more reliable at the running back position this year than it is at the wide receiver position.
The thing
you guys are going to bring the zealots out after us now by saying all this.
I don't even care because they're wrong. The zero RB does work. Zero RB works if you're the only person in your league trying to do it. Mm-hmm. And back when it first kicked off, that's what it was. The majority of people who did it were only the only people in their league doing it. Like once you have 2 or 3, even 3 teams trying to chase the same waiver wire running backs because they went wide receiver heavy, this is what you end up with. You end up starting Devonta Freeman and Wayne Gallman and getting a combined 3 points.
Get that negative 0.3 out of Wayne Gallman in your lineup, and you feel great about it going into it too. Like, oh my God, Wayne Gallman's gonna be the guy. Yeah,
this is how bad it was. Like, so I'll give you a perfect example. I went wide receiver heavy in the IDP league with Jamie Eisenberg that he invites me to every single year, which I still hate because I hate IDP. But anyways, the only one I play in. I went wide receiver heavy. I had to start Mike Davis and Wayne Gallman, and I did not win this week. That's all you need to know.
I would believe a team that started Mike Davis and Wayne Gallman didn't win this week. That's sort of just how it's going to go for a team that starts Mike Davis and Wayne Gallman, the Atlanta Falcons included. With Masterclass, you're not going to see Mike Davis or Wayne Gallman on Masterclass, but you're going to learn a lot from the world's best minds anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. You can learn how to cook from Gordon Ramsay. You can improve your shooting and ball handling skills with Steph Curry. You can learn about one of my favorite things, U.S. history and presidential history, from one of my very favorite authors, Doris Kearns Goodwin. With more than 100 classes and a range of world-class instructors, that thing you've always wanted to do is closer than you think. I've actually taken the Doris Kearns Goodwin Masterclass. If you're a dork like me who loves getting into this stuff, I've read Team of Rivals. I've read The Bully Pulpit. She's a great author, great books, and really fun to dig into. Even if that's not your thing, it just goes to illustrate how many great things there are in great depth on Masterclass. This holiday, give one annual membership and get one for free. Go to masterclass.com/firstdown today to do that. Again, masterclass.com/firstdown. Give one annual membership, get one for free. Terms do apply. Cashback credit card rewards, you guys. So 2020. Earn Bitcoin instead with BlockFi. BlockFi has the world's first Bitcoin rewards credit card that lets you earn an unlimited 1.5% in Bitcoin on all qualifying purchases. The BlockFi Rewards Visa Signature Card is the easiest way to get Bitcoin just by making everyday purchases, groceries, paying your bills, going and filling up at the gas tank, whatever it might be. You earn 1.5% back in Bitcoin on all qualifying purchases. No reward limits, no annual fee, no foreign transaction fees. BlockFi is a leader in crypto, was named to Forbes FinTech 50 list for 2021. Our listeners are going to get a bonus of $25 in crypto after making their first purchase with the credit card when you sign up at blockfi.com/fantasy. $25 in crypto deposited right into your account after you make your first purchase, but you have to use our URL, blockfi.com/fantasy. Not all will be eligible. Geographic, regulatory, and underwriting restrictions apply. Fees and terms are subject to change. Additional terms of service at BlockFi.com. BlockFi is a financial technology company. Banking services provided by Evolve Bank and Trust. Member FDIC. All right, guys, a few more games that I want to talk about. Dolphins and Jets. The Dolphins get a 24-17 win. Myles Gaskin, the volume is enormous, you guys. Jake, you're shaking your head, so I'm going to make you take this first. He's a top 20 back, right? The rest of the season, relatively easily a top 20 back.
Yeah, that's where he'll finish. But it's like I called him Jared Cook last week because you can never predict, no matter the matchup, where he's good or where he's bad. He have to hit a good matchup this week and hit on that one. But that was the entire point about Jared Cook. Is like he'll hit good matchups, he'll hit bad matchups, he'll miss on good matchups, and they'll go 2 good weeks of trusting him and then disappear. That's what it comes down to. I'll give you the easier comparison. A guy who used to play for this team. He's the Will Fuller of running backs.
Lamar Miller.
Will Fuller. You got to play him.
Used to play. I like that.
It's similar. It's like DJ Moore. Just keep Myles Gaskin at RB 18 the rest of the year, you're playing Myles Gaskin every single week, because if you try to play that's what my point is. Like, jokes aside, is don't try to play the matchup with Gaskin. Just keep him in your lineup, because you have to take the good with the bad, and he'll finish as a top 20 running back. You just gonna have to understand it's gonna be a few frustrating weeks.
Yeah, and I will say the downside there is, like, you pretty much have to bank on that little like 1 yarder TD catch or whatever, because this offensive line is so bad. Like, if he's at the goal line, he's not scoring. Like, it's just, like.
Well, that's why the Duke Johnson addition concerns me a little bit, especially in his first game, and they made Ahmed inactive. Like that, you're talking about those screen pass type situations.
Yeah.
Like, does Duke Johnson take a few away?
Right, exactly.
Elijah Moore with another big game, you guys. 8 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown. We've now seen him do it with multiple quarterbacks. It doesn't seem to matter. It feels like that Elijah Moore explosion, or the Elijah Moore emergence, has arrived. Is he now a must-start player, Funston?
I think so. You look at the last month, he's just putting up production. And as you mentioned, I think it's been 3 different quarterbacks. And you didn't ask us who the biggest winners were of the week, and I was going to say Elijah Moore, because, I mean, this is just adding, it's just adding to his resume here. It's been good, and, he was maybe the most hyperbolically praised player in preseason, and we're actually
Terrace Marshall. What about Terrace Marshall?
Yeah. I think Elijah Moore even had him trumped, but like, we're seeing things play out. You can expect with the Jets that they're going to be throwing a lot, going forward. And so I think you pretty much have to put Elijah Moore in your lineup right now, and don't even think twice about it.
Yeah, I was off. I had Elijah Moore way down this week, mostly because behind Corey Davis. And I'm glad you went as long as you did, Funston, because you let me pull up all the numbers so I could check.
Yeah.
Like, still third in routes, still, third in opportunities out there. The interesting thing I brought up to Pat Mayo last week is that Corey Davis actually spends more time in the slot than Elijah Moore does, which is weird. And it happened. That's what I was looking at yesterday, is did that happen again? And it did. 40% of the snaps for Corey Davis in the slot, 25 for Elijah Moore. The one big play was a little bit of a broken coverage. But again, I'm the guy who always says, don't take that away from the player. Yeah. The question I came up with for Meany, and I think this is the conversation going forward, is even though he's behind Corey Davis and playing outside, Elijah Moore or Corey Davis going forward, I think you make the case for Elijah Moore, because Corey Davis is still drawing the number one coverage and attention. And you talk about talent versus talent, you can make the case that Elijah Moore has the higher ceiling talent. That's why Funston said everybody was just loving him in the draft. He's a real player, and if you're going to continue to throw that, my only concern is that. My only concern is if defenses wake up and say, all right, let's pay equal attention to Elijah Moore too.
Yeah, Bill, I think we have to offer up a mea culpa for our Sunday morning live room. I just recall at least 2 questions where we told the guy to bench Elijah Moore. And just for everybody out there who hasn't done the live room yet,
right.
It's not indicative of our advice normally, but we have to call a spade, and we blew those couple of Elijah Moore questions on Sunday morning.
Hey, we'll take a 70% hit rate in advance any day of the week, and I feel like that's where we were at for Week 11. The Raiders were very far from that in their 32-13 loss to the Bengals. This offense, you guys, it's just a mess. And, like, you're going to play Josh Jacobs. You are obviously going to play Darren Waller with a ton of confidence, but, like, can you have confidence in anyone else? Jake, I mean, are you not going to play Josh Jacobs?
I think you can honestly make an argument for a match. We've been talking about it. He is the terrible version of Derrick Henry. There's 0 passing game use. No, it's true. It's 0 passing game use.
Well, you got 5 catches.
It's still funny. It can be true and funny at the same time.
Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to. So it kind of goes back to the conversation of, here's a good example. Before yesterday, because everybody's going to have Miles Sanders yesterday in their mind. It's going to be the freshest. But go back to the beginning of the season. What Miles Sanders was, and we had this conversation, Miles Sanders was usable when you expected the Eagles to win. And obviously is trying to predict that. Josh Jacobs is usable if you expect the Raiders to win. But how many games can you say that? And how many games can you say that, are they going to be run heavy with Darren Waller? And then, Renfrow had a bad game, and I don't think that I'm not putting too much weight in that. Like, I still like Renfrow. That's one bad game. If you're going to take, his third kind of slow game of the season, Renfrow's fine. Waller's fine. That's all fine. The Jacobs is the biggest concern. I'll say going to this week, who do the Raiders have this week? Oh, it's at Dallas.
The Cowboys on Thanksgiving, yeah.
Because they might be in that game, you can make the argument, but I put it this way. I think you could argue Tony Pollard versus Josh Jacobs this week.
It's the upcoming schedule, too. At Dallas, home for Washington, at Kansas City, at Cleveland are the next 4 games for the Raiders.
See, and you put that on paper, it's like again, if we expect games to go the way they go, 3 of those games you probably don't even want to start. Again, you might have to, but you don't want to start Jacobs.
Yeah, go ahead, Funston. You got something on the brain.
No, that's okay. I mean, it's the Cleveland. I feel like we just got to talk about Cleveland not being a good football team, and
we're gonna get to it. Don't worry about it. We'll get to it. Let's talk about Cincinnati though, since we're on that Ohio team here. It's not going to happen for them, is it, you guys? I keep holding out hope that the passing game is going to click in the way that we were thinking it could before the season. Doesn't feel like it's going to happen, Funston.
I don't know. I just ran the numbers. So 7 out of 10 games, Burrow. Well, I just kind of tallied them.
No, it just sounded funny the way I
just was good look because at 7 out of 10 games, Burrow's thrown for 259 or more passing yards. 8 out of 10 games, he's thrown for 2 or more passing touchdowns. This was a blowout. I mean, you can go back and find a couple other blowouts where they didn't.
Not really till late.
Yeah, I know, but there's a couple other games on there where Burrow was limited passing wise because the game was either it wasn't they weren't chasing or it was they kind of were in control. So I don't know. I'm ready to kind of like sail that ship that they're just not gonna be a good passing team going forward. I think it's still completely in play depending on the matchup.
All right, guys, we got 2 more games that we got to talk about here. They were probably the most boring, least consequential fantasy games of Week 11. Let's start out with Ravens and Bears. There is something to draw from this going forward, and it's that Darnell Mooney finally had that big game. He did it without Allen Robinson being active, of course, but it's a quick turnaround for the Bears, playing the game that everyone wants to watch Thursday, Thanksgiving. Start your day right. Bears and Lions. Get ready for a matchup with the 2 teams that are a combined 3-16-1 on the season. Darnell Mooney, 5 catches, 16 targets, 121 yards, and a touchdown. Does that do anything for you going forward, Jake?
Yeah. Do you know what his team target percentage was for this week? 48.5%.
It had to be close to 50.
I was just wondering how many people in NFL history have had 11 more targets than catches in a game.
That's a very good question.
Pull up in StatHead and find out.
I will. Yeah.
The next closest were McLaurin and Ayuk at 35% each. And I just bring that up to whether it's Fields or whether it's Dalton. Fields has clearly been the connection with Mooney. Mooney's his top option. And Dalton hit that big play almost right out of the gate when he came in at quarterback. I expect a little bit more balance with Allen Robinson with Dalton as we've seen. And it's just also because Dalton's a little better about still reading the coverage and going through his progressions. So I would expect, that's what I'm saying. I'm not expecting even 35% for Darnell Mooney team target percentage, but he's still startable. I think that you just put him down in what he's been. Fringe wide receiver 3, high end wide receiver 4, boom bust potential. But I would go Mooney before I went Allen Robinson still, even if it's Dalton.
Yeah. Feels like that's sort of the way you have to go with it. Is Devonta Freeman a thing, Funston? Is that anything you want to get excited about?
It's kind of hard to say with no Lamar Jackson. I don't know how much you make of just that Ravens offense in general. So I mean he's still playing Latavius Murray, back, and I think that he's a thing in the fact that he probably splits those touches. Mm-hmm. But again, it's sort of like some of these other backfields that we talk about. Like, do we care? Do we care that he's going to still be involved? I don't. Personally, I'll just speak for myself. I don't care.
Do we care is a perfect transition to the last game of Week 11 that we are considering. Browns with a 13-10 win over the Lions. I'll tell you what I care about, you guys. I had the Browns in Survivor. So that was great for me. It was not fun. It was not a fun watch. But I am now one of 12, potentially 13 people remaining in a big Survivor pool that I'm in, depending on what happens tonight. So I'm happy with the way things turned out. So, Barry Horowitz, pat myself on the back, yay me. Jake, is there anything that happened in this game that you care? I mean, Chubb had a great game, expected. DeAndre Swift had a great game, expected. Is there anything that happened outside of those 2 guys that you care about at all?
Nope. That's it. Just moving. To answer Phil Mike's question, Devonta Freeman is the terrible version of blank. Myles Gaskin. He's the terrible version of Myles Gaskin. At this point. Hey, look, all you care about is Swift and
James
Chubb.
Conner?
Move
How
on.
about James Conner. Terrible version of James Conner.
That's a good one. I can see that. Yeah. James Conner tied for the rushing touchdown lead. Still 13. He got his touchdown to tie back with Jonathan Taylor. Like, I would say D'Ernest Johnson if you have a matchup like this. But even in this game, he didn't do as much as I expected. I thought Dearness Johnson was in play as a solid high-end RB3 because facing the Lions. But the Browns' offense is so broken at this point. I said this to Meany on my show. Why are the Browns still rolling Baker Mayfield out there? Like he would talk about broken down. Yeah.
Yeah, he might be worse than Russell Wilson right now. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree on Dearness Johnson. They ran 36 times, and Dearness Johnson had 5 carries. I just thought.
Does Progressive do health insurance? I mean, Baker might need to check.
Yeah, exactly.
He can get he knows a person over there. He can probably get a deal. But yeah, I mean, he was limping all over the field. Is there anyone for anything you care about in this game, Funston? Anything?
Well, I mean, it's Tim Boyle, but Hawkinson, he got 50 yards and had like a handful of catches.
Yeah, I mean, 37 of those came on one play, something like that.
Whatever. It was a goose egg last time out, so we just needed.
Well, then let's go back to something good real quick. I was just pulling up the last 4 games for Darnell Mooney.
Yeah.
He's wide receiver 12 overall and 9 in points per game.
Oh, all right.
I thought Darnell Mooney and Elijah Moore would be a pretty good showdown kind of pick 'em. And I think I'm going Elijah Moore, but
I'm going Mooney.
They both
Mooney Tunes.
Mooney versus Moore. Rest of season.
There you go.
Mooney
Write
Tunes.
it down. Mooney versus Moore. And thank you. Was that good job? Way to get us out of here on a positive note, on a Darnell Mooney versus Elijah Moore. We can find things to like about bad teams in the fantasy world, about a lot of bad teams. The Bears are bad. The Jets are bad, but there are things to get excited about with them. The Detroit Lions, not so much.
He's actually number 2, by the way.
Who is Moore?
Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
Since week 8 in points and overall.
Detroit Lions, not quite that team that gets our juices flowing in the fantasy world. So like I said, get ready, America. Lions and Bears to start off your Thanksgiving day. There's really, a Thanksgiving tradition.
Enjoy your
unlike
food.
Any other. Any other. We will have another episode for you before Thanksgiving. So we will say happy Thanksgiving to you then. But we're going to wrap things up for this episode of the Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. For Jake, for Funston, I am Michael Beller signing off. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday as we set things up for Week 12. See you later. Good luck for anyone who needs anything Monday night. We'll talk to you soon, guys. See ya.